Hi, it's Valeska. I'm with Arlington Mansfield Area YMCA. We have a half-hour Yin Yoga class today. Yin Yoga is one of my favorite types of yoga. It is an opportunity to get into deep connective tissues. It allows you to take your time. You don't have to jump up and down a lot. We are going to be on the mat working on some deep stretching. And because we won't be moving quickly, we have opportunity to go deeper into some poses than we might normally. What this means is you don't want to pop out of a pose very quickly. We go slowly in, we take time to sink into it, and when we come out, we slowly retract out of it. You could injure yourself if you try to pop out too quick. So with that in mind, this is a wonderful time to let yourself slow down, be mindful of the body, don't go into anything that hurts. Now that doesn't mean you can't find an edge. So you want to go to that point where you feel like you're doing something, but you haven't gone over the edge into pain. Once we find our edge, we'll go for some time. Usually try to sink into some stillness, which doesn't mean you can't come out if you need to, or adapt the pose, or go further, go deeper. Sometimes the body will allow you to go a little deeper into a pose after you've been in it for about a minute, and slowly lets go. Be mindful of what's happening internally. If your breath ever gets a little quick, that's usually a good sign that you need to back up and try an alternative pose or simply give yourself a break. We'll start with a few minutes of just quieting the mind, maybe setting our intention for our class. You can be seated in what we call easy pose. If this isn't comfortable for you, legs can be long, you can lie on your back, find some variation. If you're seated, let the tailbone root down. Think about that tall lift of the spine. Roll the shoulders back. Relax the hands on the knees. Focus on your breath. See if you can breathe in and out through the nose. As you breathe in, think about breathing now into the heart. Feel the lift of the heart. And as you exhale, feel the heart settle. As you breathe in, think about nourishing the heart, giving it some attention, some care. And as you exhale, breathe out anything that might weigh on your heart. And then on your next inhale, think about drawing your focus to your lungs. So as you breathe in, think about the ribs expanding out to the side. And as you exhale, feel them draw back in. As you breathe in, feel that sense of opening, of lightness and expansion. And as you exhale, breathe out anything, old air, stale energy, things that you don't need. Let yourself clear the body from. Breathing in and exhaling. Now take your focus to the belly. As you breathe in, think about breathing to the bottom of your stomach. And we don't breathe into our stomach, obviously, but you can feel that rise of the belly along with the ribs and the heart. And as you exhale, feel the belly soften. Sometimes we hold tension, anxiety in that area. So as you breathe in, again, think about bringing wellness and openness to the body. Exhale, breathe out tension. Feel yourself get a little lighter as you exhale. Take a couple more breaths here. And then release the breathing pattern. Open the eyes if you had them closed. We'll do a few exercises for the neck. So just on the exhale, take the chin to the chest, draw the chin back, then roll the ear, left shoulder toward left ear, then slide the shoulders down, ear towards shoulder, long stretch on the right side. And slowly roll back to center, and then inhale, right ear toward right shoulder, slide the shoulders down, and roll back to your sternum and inhale to level. We'll do a few cat-cows. Exhale, so rounding here. So you're spreading between the shoulder blades, bringing the belly in. Draw the elbows back, pull the sternum forward. So you're going to be tilting from your hips forward. Exhale, round. This is like that hissing cat part. Inhale, the cow, where the cow has that sloped back. Exhale, round. Inhale, extend. And one more time. Exhale, round. And inhale, extend. And come back to neutral. Let's just take the legs out and roll and tap just to release. Maybe rotate ankles in 2 directions. And point and flex if that feels nice. Let's move on to hands and knees. We're going to be in child pose, but we'll change our child pose as you'll see. If sitting back here with toes together, heels apart, sinking your weight back is not comfortable for you, you can take something between your calf and the back of your thigh. So it could be a blanket, maybe a block, depends how that feels to you. Your knees can be together or farther apart. I'm going to take my little timer. And with child, you can kind of reach yourself forward till you come arms further out. Now, I'd like to add a little stretch here, so walk your hands off to one side as far as you're comfortable going. You could even extend one arm a little further and then exhale, chin to chest. Take a few slow rounds of breath. Kind of targeting that whole side of the body. Take another 3 breaths, nice and slow. And then we're going to walk the hands back to center and then off toward the other side. Just follow your own stretch. You can reach one arm a little further. You can relax the chin to the chest. Focus on some breath. And walk the hands back to center. And we'll just settle into one reach down the middle. Chin can come toward or chest or forehead toward the floor or toward a block if you need. And then slowly walk the hands back. Roll the shoulders. And the other direction. And then slide the legs around. If your feet were a little tight from having the toes pointed, just roll your ankles. Maybe draw some circles with the toes and get them the other way. We're going to move into what's called dragon or lizard. It's basically a lunge. I'll show you an alternative before I move into that. One option is to stay on your back, and you could bring a knee to the chest, or you could hold on to your foot as an alternative to being with your foot on the floor and the weight of your body on your joints. If you're not as concerned about being on your back, from table, maybe take your right foot forward. It doesn't matter, we'll do both sides. And then you can slide your back knee as far as you like. We're going to try to keep ankle under knee and knee going toward the center of our foot, which is pointed forward. You can be up higher. If this is a little bit low for you, you could be up here with the hands on the knee. If you have a block, you could use that as a support as well. So if you're in your lunge and you want to stay up higher, you could use this under your shoulder for support. Okay? Otherwise, we'll have an option to do a few more things with this lunge or dragon. Take a few breaths, see how things feel. And then if your right leg is forward, take your right hand to the inside. This is also a place where you could have your hands on a block and be up a little bit, either different heights depending on what feels best to you. If you don't need that block, you can try walking your hands off to the side, away from your knee that's in the front. We're going to call this wandering dragon. If you want a bit more stretch, you could take, if your right knee is forward, take your right arm and reach. You could also come onto your block or play with the pose and see how you feel. And take a few breaths, still trying to keep that front knee pointing forward. And let's slowly walk toward the front again. An option here is to also open up the hip. So you might flex your foot, turn it toward the corner of your mat, or if you were on a clock, about 1 or 2 o'clock, and then you can just open up the hip, rolling the knee out to the side and coming to the blade or the edge of your foot. And that gives you a bit more stretch into the hip as well. Not required to do so. Only if it feels like a good idea. If you're saying, well, I need more, you could come to forearms, coming deeper, or you could take your forearms onto your block. We'll take a few more rounds of breath. Again, remember, no pain. We're just going to find those edges and try to work from there. And then come toward the hands if you were on your forearms. We're going to roll the foot back, take the knee right in front of the foot, your hand to the outside of that foot, take your heel to the floor, pull your right hip back if that's the leg that's forward, roll your shoulders back and extend your chest. And get another kind of stretch going here for just a few breaths. And then come back into table. If you need some hip circles or down dog is calling your name, take a moment. And if you do this hip circles, just go both directions. And coming back into table. If you had your right knee forward, you can take your left. And coming into that low lunge. Again, it doesn't have to be a low lunge. You could be on your back and take that knee to your chest like we showed on the first side. You could stay up higher. You could have your back foot tucked under if that gives you more support. If you're feeling wobbly, make sure that your knees aren't too much in a line. We want now knee over ankle, pointed toward the center or so of that front foot, so you'll be able to see the toes. If you would like to go deeper, you can again have the block on the floor. You could rest your chest on the knee. You could play with how far back you want your other leg. If you want to try this wandering dragon version, take your left hand to the inside of that left knee and start to wander off to the other side. So you would reach maybe out toward the corner, and you could even extend a bit with the left hand. Still trying to keep the knee nice and strong over the leg. And take a few breaths. I know it's kind of hard to think about relaxing muscles when you're doing challenging poses, but see if you can let go of some tension in those hips and low back. And then we're going to walk the hands under the chest and then off back toward the foot. Hands can be under the shoulders. From here, maybe do that flared dragon. Point your foot to the corner. I like to flex my foot and then just open up the hips. So I'm dropping the knee out to the side, and that lets me come to the edge of my foot. So on the pinky side, I'm not rolled on top of the foot. This really opens up the hip. And if I need to make it more of a challenge, I can start coming toward forearms or lying on the block with my forearms. Again, this is personal exploration. Find your range of motion, what works for you. If you're on your back, you could take your knee from just being straight above you to opening it out to the side. Give it another breath or two. Then take your hands underneath, roll the foot back, hand to the outside of your knee, push your hips straight back, let the toes come up, and from here just draw your chest toward the top of your foot rather than trying to round. Just give it a nice back of the leg stretch. And then you can shift back toward table. You can do those hip circles, or if you like down dog, just tuck your toes underneath, lift the knees, push the hips way back, spread the hands nice and secure, let the head relax, push the tailbone up and back, and then maybe just pedal one knee out and leg out at a time. Keep the breath going. And exhale, knees to the floor, and bring the legs around. And if it feels good, just kind of tap and release. I'm going to come into a wide V. So sitting up again on something can sometimes make it a little easier for your hips not to tilt backwards, but be either up or slightly tipped forward. A lot of variation about width of leg here. We want our toes and knees up, and you can bend the knees here if that helps you pull your pelvis forward so that you're not rounding in the spine. So trying to avoid rounding where you might see this curve back here and pulling the chest further forward, nice and straight. If you have a handy wall, this is also a nice one that you can do with wall support. Take yourself against a wall and just let the legs come straight up with your seat against the wall, and then slide the legs open, and then gravity can help, and that's really nice. Knees can be soft. You could have a little, you could put blocks underneath your knees, or you could put a little roll of towel. So we're not trying to lock these knees. Have a tall spine. We're going to take ourselves into a long stretch to the left. If this arm overhead doesn't feel good, drop the hand either behind the hip or let it rest on the shoulder. Take a few breaths, roll that shoulder back. And we won't stay here quite as long. Let that other hand lift you up. Come to the other side. Again, option arm overhead or let it rest behind. Try to roll that shoulder back. Take a couple breaths. Inhale the arm up. Come to nice and tall. Let's just do a few circles right from this wide V. Like if we were seated doing this with crossed leg, we're just now doing it from a wide V. Reaching for the chest forward, to the side and back. Kind of get some nice work into the hips as well. You can slow down and really focus on a particular place. And at the top of your circle, just kind of reverse. And then let's relax the legs. And you can just drop one knee in and the other. And then we're going to bring the legs around and come onto our back. And I want to get into a lovely pose called Banana Asana. It is a wonderful side stretch for the whole side body, and it's relatively doable. You can always modify. From here, bring your feet toward your hips. We're going to pick up the tush, just kind of slide it off to one side. So if you slid it to the right, take your feet out and see if you can walk them to the left. You have an option of taking your right leg and crossing it over your left. Now you might want to roll onto your left hip. See if you can roll your hips so that both glutes are on the floor. The next option is to see about adding some twist on the top. Not twist, sorry, side stretch by shifting your shoulders over so that you are creating this kind of half moon or banana shape. If you feel tension in your shoulder because it might be a little lifted, you can take a block or a blanket and support that shoulder. You can hold hands or your elbows or just let them rest. We'll take a few breaths, letting the whole side body stretch. Let's do 2 more breaths or so. And we'll kind of unwind how we got in. So take the torso, the shoulders back to center. I'm going to unwind the legs, take the feet to the floor, and shift your hips back to the middle. To get to the other side, again, lift up, shift your hips to the left, reach your legs out. You can keep them straight out, or for more, work them to the right corner of your mat at the bottom and cross left ankle over right. And again, it's easier sometimes when we lift the hip up, but if we want to get more of that side stretch, keep that hip rolled down so it's on the floor. And then you can choose to add the upper body, kind of working your shoulders off to the right. And again, it might feel better to have something underneath the shoulder to offer some support so that your body doesn't feel like it's hanging there and needs to be helped. Take some slow breaths for the next minute. And one more breath. Unwinding from the top, bringing the shoulders back. Lift the feet, one ankle, and then bring the feet toward the glutes and return to center. Bring the knees in, a little bit of rock back and forth. And then let's roll to the side. Press a hand to the floor and bring yourself up. We'll finish with a little bit of seated meditation or simply awareness, mindful time. Let the legs be in any position that works for you. Roll the shoulders back, crown of the head is up. And maybe close the eyes and observe the body. Lots of work we did into the sides. See how you feel. And any place that is a little tense, envision breathing into those tissues. When you breathe into them, you're going to get extra blood flow. And when you envision breathing out, you can imagine any tension, any tightness leaving the body, breathing it out. And then draw the breath all the way down from the nose, all the way to the soles of the feet, like you're breathing into the whole body. And exhale, breathe out anything you don't need. Let's reach tall. Envision taking some peace, some grace, bringing it to the mind, heart, and body. The light in me honors that light in each of you, which unites us all. The word that we say is namaste. Namaste. Hope everybody stays well, practices yoga until we can all practice together again. Thank you for being with me.